Is the MCU dying, or is it already dead? What's up, folks? Chris from Cinema Hooked, and today I want to talk about the MCU, the state of the MCU, what we think of it, where we think it's going. Can it be what it once was, or will it just be where it is currently and eventually just completely die? I saw an article online earlier that had a highly respectable talent agent who said, while clients in the past would love to be in MCU films, the request to be in MCU films from these high-profile celebrities is just not nearly what it was. And while it's still a life-changing experience for actors who are put in the MCU, it's just not as highly demanded as it once was. And I think we can remember back maybe 10 years ago, every single celebrity, whether they were on Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, whatever it was, they're always like, oh, what's your dream project? Oh, I would just love to be in an MCU film. I'd love to be in a Marvel film, blah, 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 blah. Every damn celebrity saying the same damn thing. And I think we can all agree it was extremely annoying. I really hated that trend by celebrities. It was just so disingenuous. And it had nothing to do with the fact that they were a Marvel fan or they read comics as a kid or anything like that. They were just trying to cash that Marvel paycheck, which, hey, that's fine. But as fans, we're like, dude, I don't want you just because you want money. I want you because you're passionate about these projects. But just the whole celebrities not really wanting to be in the MCU anymore, at least not as much as they used to, it kind of gives me a little bit of hope that maybe the MCU is moving in the right direction. We're getting away from just the cash grab ideas, and maybe we're actually going to come out with some good films. And while Thunderbolts really didn't perform as well as Marvel, I'm sure, would have liked and Disney would have liked, I, for one, thought it was one of the best Marvel films we've gotten in many years. Fantastic Four, also, it didn't make nearly as much as I'm sure Marvel and Disney wanted to make, but in my opinion, one of the better Marvel MCU films that we've had in many years. Now, at the end of the day, it does all come down to money for these big conglomerate companies, but as a fan, I don't care about how much money they make. I care about my enjoyment of a film. And I gotta say, Marvel was putting out films that I just could not have cared less about. And then the shows, some of the shows, I just, I haven't finished, and who knows, maybe one day I'll finish Agatha All Along. I stopped watching once they were gonna go down the witch's road. I just, why does this show exist? Why? Hey, if it was great, let me know in the comments. But from what I watched leading up to that point, it was just kind of like Thunderbolts came out and finally woke me up from that nap that some of the MCU projects were putting me in. And I like the way the MCU is looking right now, but do we think it can ever be what it once was, really? Simply put, no. I don't think it'll ever be what it was. I don't think we're ever going to get the high of highs like we were with Infinity War and with Endgame, as far as just the crazy ideas, the shock value of oh my God. And hey, I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. There is a lot riding on Avengers Doomsday. A lot, because what they're paying Robert Downey Jr. to come back, that's an insane amount of money. They are banking on this being an automatic $1 billion in the bank. And I just don't know what the state of the MCU right now. I don't think you can just be like, yeah, guaranteed billion. Back in the day, sure, go back in time, yeah, you were almost guaranteed to make at least $1 billion. I know it was the DCEU, but Aquaman was making $1 billion. And I think those days, post-COVID, movies making $1 billion, I just don't think it's going to happen nearly as easy and as often as the MCU is used to. Personally, as a fan of the MCU, of Marvel characters, of Fantastic Four, I want new films. I want more original ideas, but I hope it can get to where it was. I hope it can, but if I'm just being realistic with the quality that we've had over the last 5-6 years, post-Endgame, basically everything post-Endgame, it's not that promising. I just don't know if they can ever regain the trust of people that had basically kind of given up. They're like, this isn't good quality. The Daredevil series that just came out, we can all agree, right? It just wasn't as good as the Netflix Daredevil seasons. All three of them. There were moments in this new show that were cool. It just wasn't the same, though. At the end of the day, I love Marvel. I love the MCU. I have so many fond memories just kind of growing up, when Iron Man came out and watching all these films and starting my old original podcast with two of my best friends. And we started it. We went and saw Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and Captain America Civil War. And we walked out of the theater and we were like, we should start a podcast. And that kind of drove me down this whole, you know, rabbit hole of creating a YouTube channel. And I used to have the big Instagram page, and, you know, it's formed so much of the nerd culture part of my life. Star Wars is a huge part of that, as you can see from these posters. But I mean, Marvel, the MCU, it's really shaped the nerd that I am. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. And you have a special connection with the MCU and these films and these actors. And I think we're all, you know, fingers crossed, we're just really hoping that Avengers Doomsday is just that thing that just jumpstarts the MCU, breathes some new life into it. And by new life, kind of old life, because they're bringing back like every single legacy character over the last, you know, nearly 30 years of any Marvel movie that's ever been made. But they're bringing like everybody back. So to go back to the original question I posed at the beginning of the video, is it dying or already dead? Well, yes, I do think it is dying, despite Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, for me, creatively and quality-wise, being, you know, on the upscale. But they didn't make that much money, which in the eyes of like studio execs, they're like, those were flops. Like, that wasn't successful. We wanted more money. Money, 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 money. I get it. They want theirs. They want their money. But we as fans, we also want quality. And I will take less product and more quality over quantity. Quantity has never been what the MCU is about. Too much was their biggest problem. Too much involvement, like focusing on streaming, pumping out this show, this show, this show, this show, this show. And we probably only wanted like maybe this show and that show, you know? They're giving us way too much and stuff we didn't even ask for, didn't even want. Sure, are there bits and nuggets of goodness in some of these like shows? Sure, there's little nuggets of goodness in there, but overall, not great. The quality hasn't been there. It really hasn't been there until Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. And those were great first steps towards rebuilding the MCU. Hoping Avengers Doomsday can turn everything around. I hope it does. I hope it does. Do I think it can? Do I think it can really like turn it around that much? Maybe. I give it a 50% chance, but I don't think it's a guarantee that this film's going to be a huge success. I think a lot of fans, they were put off by the whole Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. I don't think a lot of fans love that. I'd love to know what you guys think, what you thought of Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. Do you, like me, think that those were steps in the right direction into building the MCU back up and having kind of some more original ideas and not being oversaturated with just junk media that they've been putting out for the last like 5 years post Endgame? You know, let me know down in the comments. And if you're new to this channel, I'd love it if you subscribe, hit that little like button like the sign there says. Really appreciate it. I'm just a small channel trying to build a community where we can all discuss films and television shows together, and I reply to every single comment, so don't be shy. Comment down below. Do you think it's dying? Is it dead? Will it ever be what it once was? Let me know what you guys think, and like always, let's keep the conversation going after the video ends, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.